Hey folks, how's it going? This is Mike. Welcome back to my channel. And I'd like to show you what I got at the still ongoing Kino-Lorber spring sale. I picked up 28 Blu-rays, okay? So the DVD and Blu-ray hoarding is continuing uh, without any chance of stopping, probably. Before I show you what I bought, I would like to give a big shout out to all of my YouTube friends, subscribers, supporters. I recently achieved 1,000 subs. And it only took me 10 years to do it. I started making videos back in 2012, and it's been a long process, but I really do appreciate everybody, not only the people who subscribed fairly recently, but also to the people who have been supporting me for a long time, tuning in to watch, and I really appreciate it. The best thing about being on YouTube and doing videos is the feedback that you get from friends and the things that you can learn from other people and starting conversations. So it's been a great experience, and I hopefully after achieving this milestone, I can continue to move forward and put out things that people would like to watch. We shall see, right? So let me start off with the films that I upgraded. These are the only two that I actually own copies from other companies. All right, but I wanted to get them in better condition. This is an English film called The Mindbenders, starring Dirk Bogarde from 1963, directed by Basil Dearden, okay, who is a pretty well-known English director. And this is a science fiction movie all about a man who is experimenting with sensory deprivation and what it does to his mind. Very cool film. Not so much science fiction. It has the ambiance of science fiction, but it's mainly psychological drama. Very well done, and very happy to have a better copy. The copy I had that I have from another company is from Sinister Cinema, and this will be probably a very substantial upgrade. Next up is a Canadian film from the year 1959. This is called The Bloody Brood. Okay, Bloody Brood. How's that for a title? Starring a very young Peter Falk, and directed by a man named Julian Rothman, who 2 years after this made a classic, at least I consider it to be a classic, 3D horror film called The Mask, which really is one of my favorite films. And I like this one quite a bit. This is all about the beatnik culture and violence and drug dealing. Peter Falk plays a really nasty character, a drug dealer. He does it very well. All right. Next up, I want to show you the two silent films that I picked up. And these are two films that I've never seen. First off is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, starring Lon Chaney. Wow, I am so happy to finally have this. I've only seen Lon Chaney in one film, and that's The Phantom of the Opera. So this will give me a chance to learn something about him. All right, Hunchback of Notre Dame. Next up is a D.W. Griffith film from 1920 called Way Down East, starring Lillian Gish and Richard Barthelmess. This is the one where Richard Barthelmess saves Lillian Gish from floating down the river on a big sheet of ice. I've seen parts of that particular scene many times, but I want to see the entire film. All right, Way Down East. Next up, I want to show you a series of films that were recommended to me by some of my YouTube friends. And the first one is a Western called Yellow Sky, directed by William Wellman, starring Gregory Peck, Ann Baxter, and Richard Widmark. This was recommended by my friend Mike Dagg over at Dagg Films. Mike knows more about Westerns than anybody I've ever known. So very anxious to see this, right? Yellow Sky. Next up is a stack of films that were recommended by my friend Roger Kirby. And the first one is from director Frank Borzage, who Roger was doing an entire series on Frank Borzage and turned me on to a lot of stuff by this great director. From 1936, Marlene Dietrich and Gary Cooper in Desire. Never seen this, all right? Next up is an English film from 1967 called Privilege, starring Paul Jones and Gene Shrimpton. A film that I've always been curious about. It's about a young guy that becomes a rock star and all about the rock star culture and how it affects him, okay, with beautiful legendary model Gene Shrimpton, all right? Next up is, I believe this is a French movie called The Road to Salina, starring, here's a cast for you: Mimsy Farmer, Robert Walker, and Rita Hayworth. Maybe it's not a French film. Maybe I'm all mixed up here. But I picked this up. Roger had high praise for this, and especially I wanted to see Rita Hayworth. Okay, this was from 1970, so that's one of her last films, I believe. May have been her last film. Next up, this is a French film I was thinking of: Alain Delon and Senta Berger in Diabolically Yours. All right, from the year 1967. Have not seen that much of Alain Delon in my life, but he's really an interesting actor. So, all right. Next up is another Claude Colbert, Fred McMurray comedy classic, and I've never seen it, called No Time for Love. So that'll be fun. I've been seeing a lot of Claudia Colbert movies in the last year or so and enjoying every single one of them. She's just a delight, and these two are always good working together. Okay, No Time for Love. Next up, show you the rest of the films in no particular order or classification. This is a film called The Nightcomers, starring Marlon Brando, and I picked this up. I read the plot. It's based on the Henry James novel The Turn of the Screw, which was also the basis for the classic horror film The Innocents in 1961. This was made in 1972, and this takes the character of Peter Quint, who was the ghost, one of the ghosts in The Innocents, and it sort of expands on his life. I guess if he had lived, or maybe this is before he actually became a ghost. Anyway, I'm very curious about it to see what they do with it. All right. So next up is an English film called Espresso Bongo, starring Cliff Richard, also with Lawrence Harvey, Sylvia Sims, Yolande Donlan, and I actually watched this last night because I was kind of curious about it. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a little more edgy, since it was about rock and roll in the late 1950s, but still was an interesting film. It had some performance music by Cliff Richard and some situational songs by some of the other cast members, most of whom couldn't sing, but interesting curio from that time. So next up is Patrick Swayze in Fatherhood. Never saw this movie, and I bought this because I like Patrick Swayze. I actually I miss Patrick Swayze very much. It's so tragic that this great heroic figure from the cinema died so young, and I can't believe we don't have him anymore. So I just picked this up to see Patrick Swayze. Right. Next up is a film from 1964 that I've never seen: One Potato, Two Potato. This stars Barbara Barry and Bernie Casey, and it's about an interracial relationship, a white woman and a black man, which back in 1964 was, a pretty racy theme. And I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, but I've always been curious about it. So, anyway. All right. Next up is this is a film from the 1930s, 1932, Broken Lullaby, starring Lionel Barrymore, Nancy Carroll, and Phillips Holmes. And I think I may have seen this movie on cable TV way back in the 1980s. I'm not sure. Directed by Ernst Lubitsch. And I picked this up because I want to see another movie with Nancy Carroll. She was a big, big star back in the early 1930s, and I've only seen her one other time. So I bought this for her. All right. This is an English film called The Homecoming, I guess from a play by Harold Pinter. And let's see who was in this movie. Anybody that I know of? Cyril Cusack, Vivian Merchant, Ian Holm. Okay. Anyway, I like Harold Pinter's writing, so we'll see what this is all about. The Homecoming. Next up is a very old, sort of a mystery film, kind of a B film, called The Double Door, right? This is from 1934. It has Evelyn Venable, Mary Morris, Kent Taylor, Sir Guy Standing. Don't know anything about this, but I love the cover. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, right? Double Door. Here's something that's, I think this was a TV series. I'm not sure. Rock Hudson in the Martian Chronicles, from the novel, or the series of books, I guess, by Ray Bradbury. And I actually have this book, The Martian Chronicles, somewhere piled up in my bookcases, but I've never bothered to read it. But this Rock Hudson is science fiction, right? Looking forward to this. Next up is another science fiction movie, Peter Cushing as Doctor Who in Invasion Earth, Daleks Invasion Earth 2050 AD. Okay? So, Peter Cushing is always worth watching. Next up is this is a film that was co-produced by Ida Lupino, who also co-wrote the script. It's called Not Wanted, starring Sally Forrest, Keith Purcell, Leo Penn. Again, something I haven't seen before, but yeah. All right. Now here's a film I bought because it was directed by Robert Altman, who I like very much. Fool for Love. Never seen it. Sam Shepard, Kim Basinger, Randy Quaid, and Harry Dean Stanton. Great cast of actors. All right. So I'm hoping that will be a good evening. We shall see. This is a film. Oh, this is a documentary. I wasn't sure what to expect from this. It's called I Am Heath Ledger, which basically is a documentary that Heath Ledger made about himself, I guess. And some of the people in it, we have Ang Lee, Naomi Watts. Yeah, anyway. So I guess it's just Heath Ledger talking all about himself. But I like this guy a lot. Great actor, great personality, and again, somebody that we lost way, way, way too soon. Very tragic that we don't have Heath Ledger anymore. All right. Here's a film called The Oscar from the 1960s, 65 as a matter of fact. Very appropriate time to be watching a film about the Oscars. The Oscars. Let's see: Stephen Boyd, Al Summer, Milton Berle, Eleanor Parker, Joseph Cotton, Jill St. John, Tony Bennett, Edie Adams, Ernest Borgnine. Who directed this? I have no idea. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I've never seen this. All right. Here's a Charles Lawton film, also with Ella Raines, called Suspect. Charles Lawton is always worth watching. I think this is sort of a film noir, directed by Robert Siodmak from Universal. Next up, we have a Haley Mills film. Haley Mills in The Endless Night from Agatha Christie, 1972. All right. Also with Hywell Bennett, Britt Eklund, George Sanders. Wow. Haley Mills, all grown up. Next is another sort of a crime thriller film noir I've never seen called Larceny. Great cast of actors. We have John Payne, Joan Caulfield, Dan Duryea, and a very young Shelley Winters. All right, 1948. Then we have, I bought this for fun, Jack Webb and Dragnet. Okay, why not? What the hell? 1954. That was when Dragnet was first on television. And finally, I picked this up. This is a film I've never owned, but I always liked it. I used to watch it on cable. Desperately Seeking Susan, Rosanna Arquette, Aidan Quinn, and Madonna. Probably the best thing that Madonna ever did back when she was young and fresh and a lot of fun. And this is a very cool movie. I watched this last night too, just to have a good time. So that is my haul from Kino-Lorber. Sorry to keep it so long, but thank you very much for watching. And as always, comments are welcome.